Y'all come on, man.
Show your face here. Thank you, God, for justice.
I'm about to say it. My name is Eugene Collins. I'm the president of the Baton Rouge branch of the NAACP, and we thank y'all for coming out here tonight and waiting for this long period of time, which seemed like forever. But what also seemed like forever is how long it took to get these indictments on these officers. Although we know that justice delayed is not justice denied, and this family has held very strong throughout this process. And although the gravity of the charges is not exactly what we had hoped for, we are not remiss to know or think that this is historic in Louisiana. They have 5 indictments on 5 troopers. And that is a full testament to the strength of this woman, I believe, right here, Ms. Mona Hard.
Absolutely.
This has been a long journey, a long fight. And along this fight, I saw the strength of a mom fight through everything. Get on the road and make 10-hour trips sometimes every week to make sure that nobody forgot her son's name. I saw his sisters continue to push on no matter what was going on, or how many times they were worried about their mama getting on the road by herself. They kept fighting. They kept going. But at the same time, I'm deeply saddened that it took all of this, even with a video of a black man getting beat to death on the side of a road. They should have never gotten here. But the fact that it did, and because of these warriors standing behind me and so many others that couldn't be here tonight, we see charges here tonight. And we hope that those troopers enjoy their jail stay. And when they get to jail, the people that's already there, y'all make sure they feel welcome. With that said, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Attorney Ron Haley, and then after that, we're going to hear from Ms. Mona.
Thank you, Eugene. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for your patience on this day. It took a couple of hours, but it took 3.5 years to get to this point, so we could wait a couple of hours for justice. We are not here without the relentless strength of the Greene family. Eugene said it right. For 3.5 years, this has been their life. Their life to make sure that their son, their brother, their father, their cousin, their nephew, their family, their friend receive justice, and no one will forget their name. This is an historic day in Louisiana. Far too often we see incidents like this, sometimes even caught on camera, and yet all comes out of it is a lawsuit. Today, the Union Parish Grand Jury chose to indict 5 officers, 3 state troopers, and 2 sheriff's deputies from Union Parish. I'll be remiss not to thank District Attorney Belton for taking this case to the grand jury in seeking criminal charges when it seemed for a long period of time no one would. Today, although the gravity, as Eugene said, of the charges may not be what everyone wants, but we claim victory today. This is just the next step in the march for justice, but it was a big step. Because the step we took today means we get to take another step. Because if the grand jury came back and did not indict any of these officers,
Murderers.
it would stop. So the march goes on. We've been marching for 3.5 years, and we will march into the end. to make sure there's justice for Ronald Greene.
I just want to say that we have come a ways. And for what we do have, 5 arrests, it sounds a lot. Even though I'm glad for the arrests, it's what you're going to make out of these arrests. There needs to be substantial time for a cop who murders while in uniform. They need to be held accountable. Because if not, you're condoning the killing of Ronald Greene. You're okay with my son being murdered if you just give a slap on the wrist. Because these are badge officials who take it upon themselves to be judge, jury, and executioner. And all I can say is this is the beginning of a lot. We're not done. We're not done by a long shot. Where we are now, I carry every bit of it proudly for my son. Ronnie is here. I want you guys to remember his face. Remember what he said while he was being murdered by these cops. And the fact that they had no mercy till they killed him. I want y'all to remember that. These are Louisiana state troopers. The cover-up that ensued by higher-ups, I want you guys to see it all as it was. This is 3.5 years of a murder and a cover-up. Let's not forget who aided and abetted, to where we have to really struggle just to get what we got today. One step leading to many more to come. I thank you.
Now we're going to hear from his sisters, Janelle and Alana.
Go. Y'all for being here tonight. Greetings. I would be remiss if I didn't say something. But right now, even though it was a small victory, we're still left heartbroken, trying to pick up the pieces. The tragedy of the matter is we're still stuck on that day that we lost our big brother. 2019 people. We've been struggling and hurting and angry for a long time. But we know that this is a step to a bigger cause. This is just the beginning. So I do want to thank our team. And I want to thank those behind me who's actually stood with us for this time. And I want to thank this woman here, the best mother on earth. A true warrior. And I'm proud to call her my mother. And I want to thank you all again. Hello everyone. I must be honest, I'm really disappointed in the outcome, being that my brother was murdered. I mean, you guys, you saw it for yourselves. He was murdered. And I feel bad for the people here in Louisiana. You know, I don't feel like there's public safety for, you know, black and brown people. There's no public safety. So I want to say to Governor John Bel Edwards and Attorney General Jeff Landry, you guys have to do a better job in cleaning up the state. You have to do a better job, because my family that still resides here in the state, and I'm sure there's citizens all over that are just scared
Matter of fact, last night we were out having a late bite to eat, and this kid, he looks like he was like 20-year-old, and he saw the picture of Ronald Greene, and he put his head down and he said, "Oh, I'm scared of the cops." He said, "They pistol whipped me." So to hear him say that, multiply that number. He's scared just like my brother Ronald Greene was scared that night. So yeah, I'm disappointed. But we're going to continue to fight. You know, this was a small win, and small wins have to be celebrated, because small wins lead to victory. So we're going to continue to fight, guys. I love you, Mom. Thank you, everyone. State representatives, you know who you are. Our legal team. I'm appreciative because we've made some progress. And also, I'd like to suggest, you know, if you want to start with police reform here in the state of Louisiana, you guys need to reinstate Carl Cavalier's employment. Yeah. Put him back on his job. Okay? Let's start there with police reform. Because he did nothing wrong but speak up. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't know, you know, where to start. Because for a long time we kept thinking like, wow, did they really murder Ron? You know? Yeah, we could not believe it. So I just want to thank you guys for your time. Oh, and just like Ron would say, we're always winning. That's right.
Now you're going to hear from our partner from the ACLU, Ms. Megan Mack, Attorney Megan Mack.
Today's decision is a long overdue first step in a fight towards justice for Ronald Greene and his family, and accountability for a broken police system. Those that were indicted today must be terminated immediately, arrested immediately, and charged. And we recognize the historical implications of what happened today with these charges being brought against Louisiana police officers. And we also know that the charges should have been higher. We know that black and brown people in this state continue to be brutalized by Louisiana State Police. And the obstruction that all of these officers engaged in during the course of these 3.5 years is the very reason that these charges were not higher. These officers beat Ronnie to death on the side of the road and covered it up. We wouldn't be here at all today without Miss Mona, Ronnie's mom. And while this decision is a step towards police accountability, the systems that allowed for this cover-up and this murder to take place are still intact. So the fight is far from over. We have to acknowledge the racist roots of policing in this country and address the systemic failures that allow for this persistent violence and these cover-ups to continue to happen. We must continue to demand accountability through the DOJ's pattern of practice investigation into Louisiana State Police. And in some ways this is justice, but justice is Ronnie here at Christmas with his family. Justice is Ronnie going to the store and buying presents for his mom. Justice is Ronnie giving his sisters that brotherly advice that only he could give. That is justice. This is a victory, and we are going to take it, and we are grateful for it. But we will continue our relentless pursuit of accountability for these officers and everyone that was implicated in these crimes. And we will see this fight through all the way to the end. We will be with Ronnie's family and all victims of police violence in the state of Louisiana. Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
this point, we're going to call State Representative Denise Marcel as well as State Representative Edmund Jordan to the mic.
Thank you. I think you all have heard over and over again, this is a small victory for us. We all watched the murder of Ronald Greene. But as a legislator, I had faith in the Louisiana State Police. I no longer have that faith, and particularly since I served on the committee when we were uncovering a lot of these issues that we turned over to Mr. Belton. I am saddened that it has taken us this long to get here. I watched Miss Mona come with her family and sit out there and hear the cover-up. It was clearly a cover-up. Yes, we have 5 recommendations for indictments on today. But we had many, many more that sat in front of our committee and lied and covered up higher-ups. And it was a layer of cover-up. So I don't want to stop at the 5. I want us to get down to the root of everybody who played a part in this cover-up. No, you weren't indicted, but you no longer need to work for the Louisiana State Police, because if you covered it up then, you'll cover it up again. And it's systematic racism in that department. It is a real problem. We may not want to call it that, but that's exactly what it is. And it's happened over and over again. And it's not just the state police. I hate to tell you, but it starts at the local level. And we've got to dive into this thing and clean house. Yes, we have some great police officers, but on the other hand, we have those that are willing to beat up brown and black men and women, and they think they can get away with it, and they think it's okay, and it's not okay. It's not okay under my watch. It's not okay for the Greenes. It is not okay for Louisiana. We ought to all be outraged when we see something like this happen. Yes, it was Miss Greene's son. It could have been your son. What if it was your child that they were beating on the side of the road? What if it was your family member, your friend? We ought to be outraged. And I am slightly disappointed in the charges. And I want to see the charges are there, but this is, like they said, the first step. Because guess what? We got to get in. We had the indictment. We got to get something called a conviction. Right. That part. And I'm waiting to see what that part is going to look like, because each and every one of them should be convicted, and more besides them, in my opinion. And so we need to stay in this fight, uncover whatever it is that's being covered up continuously, and get rid of the bad apples in the Louisiana State Police. I stand with this family and behind not only this family, but all the families in the state of Louisiana. Because they are there to protect and serve, not to beat and harass, not to kill our children. And so I'm glad to stand here with you. I've been with them all day because I told them I would be with them until the end. And that's why I'm here, because I want to see justice for Ronald Greene.
Yes. All right. Representative Jordan. Bless.
Thank you all for coming again. And, you know, I want to reiterate what we heard from some other people. This does not happen without the strength of this moment. And so let me say that when this committee was first established, one of the things she asked me was this going to be a dog and pony show? Was this going to be something of no substance, but just for the public to make it seem like we were trying to do something? And I assure you, as long as I was part of this committee, people like Denise and others, as long as we were part of the committee, that would never happen. Because that's not what it was going to be about. And so we are happy that we maybe played some small role in today's outcome. But again, like everybody said, what are we going to do to deter this type of conduct? You know, I sort of share some of Dee's feelings. It's bittersweet to me when I saw that the indictments came down. First, I didn't think it should have taken as long as it did, but it did. But for folks like Ronnie and myself who practice in this area, we know how hard it is to even get to this point. So I understand the victory in it all. But I will tell you, my heart is still heavy, because We're talking about police accountability. And it's a sad day when we have to celebrate the justice system doing what it's supposed to do. This isn't something extra, even though it feels like it's something extra because it's so uncommon. The truth is, it should be commonplace. If you don't do your job, then you should be held accountable. That shouldn't be something that's so extraordinary that we should have a group of people here celebrate. But it happens so rarely that we understand it is something extraordinary. So I pray for the day when, if you are wearing the blue and you mess up and you don't do the job that you're supposed to do, you don't protect and serve, you are found to be guilty of misconduct, that indictments do come, that convictions do come. Because that's the only way that we deter this conduct in the future. It's not until they understand that there's going to be some level of accountability that this stops. And so while I certainly do celebrate the victory, because we do need to know what wins look like, I just hope that we get more wins when these things happen. Now let me just say that there are good officers out there and we want them to do their jobs. We want them to intervene when they see wrongdoing. We want them to speak up and not stand with that blue wall of silence when they see wrongdoing. It shouldn't take a Carl Cavalier to be one out of the bunch and then be ostracized, because what does that do? That sends the chilling effect that says if you see something wrong and you speak out, we're going to beat you down. But yet, you can do wrong, and if you're not indicted, then there's no deterrent. I mean, that's a topsy-turvy world that we're living in. And so, or you get a promotion. So what I'm trying to tell you is this. Again, I'm thankful for the people of Union Parish. I'm thankful for D.A. Belton for bringing these charges. I'm happy, but I will tell you, you meet certain people under certain circumstances, and you don't know why people are brought together. But I just want to end with the strength of this family, the strength of this mother, because without that, I can tell you that this does not happen. Because I can tell you, as someone who served on that committee, it meant so much, not just to me, to Denise, and to the others, that every time we got on that podium in that dais, and we had to look out in the crowd and see Ms. Mona and know that she had driven hours to get there, sometimes on a day's notice. That meant so much. That motivated us so much to continue to fight, to continue to uncover the cover-up, and we're not done yet. So let me be clear with that. We still have at least one meeting left that we're going to conduct, and so we'll see what comes from that. But again, I just want to thank the Greene family. I want to thank Eugene. I want to thank Ronnie and everybody else in the family for all the work that they've done, because it does not happen without them. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative George. I'd be remiss if I didn't offer Carl Cavalier to come say a few words, if you don't mind.
All right.
Good evening. I will speak bluntly and say that I'm disappointed in the charges. I think charging the guys on scene who were on scene, I think that was automatic. That was easy. You know, a kid could go in and charge those guys because it was on video, had audio, you know, everything, all the evidence was laid out. But the thing I was hoping for, the thing I would like to see is those guys in administrative position who allowed those guys on scene to act the way they acted, you know, because there's a process you go through your chain of command, your supervisors and what have you. And to say that those guys will be at home with their feet kicked up, collecting a six-figure pension is I don't know, it blows me away. And you know, I won't even applaud to these charges or clap or get excited or anything, because you know, it shouldn't have took this long. It shouldn't have taken this long, and it's a slap in the face for those guys to be at home, you know, collecting that pension. So there's no celebration from me. So no applause from me. And I hate to be a Debbie Downer, but that's reality. And you know, to the future, to the next black family that'll have to deal with to the next family period that have to deal with, you know, police brutality, whether it's being shot, choked, or beaten, and you know, have to be put on the assembly line of families who are dealing with grief and pushed along without really having any real justice. You know, I wish you luck, you know, and I wish you, you know, fight the good fight, look for meaningful, you know, relief from your situation. I hate that it'll be like that, but that's, you know, history have taught us that it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. So if we don't get anything meaningful out of these situations, and charge the right people, bring the right charges, meaningful charges, these guys are not going to learn their lesson. You know, so you won't get any applaud or any, you know, smiles from me for these, you know, charges. So thank you.
At this point, we want to go ahead and open the floor for questions. Before we do that, we definitely want to recognize all the families that have traveled here from all over the South seeking justice for their loved ones. We have Gulfport, Mississippi here. We have Texas somewhere in the crowd. We have Concordia Parish, Oakland, California. All of these families united for justice from all over this country have traveled in to be here with this family. And we want to travel and help them with their fights at some point as well. So just didn't want this moment to pass and not recognize them. But we do want to open the floor for questions. And before we do that, Representative Jordan spoke that there will be another hearing. We understand that our governor was busy the first time he was called out. If we want to talk about true transparency and really moving forward, we challenge our governor to make this next hearing. We also challenge, just like everybody here that spoke today, our two legislators, as well as the ACLU, and I'll formally say it here on behalf of the NAACP, that Carl Cavalier should be fully reinstated.
Yes.
It should not be a crime. It should not be something that you're punished for stepping up and saying that a man was murdered. So we call for the full reinstatement of Mr. Carl Cavalier. At this point, we want to open the floor for questions.
Ms. Mona, I know your daughter, she had a direct message to Governor Edwards, Attorney General Jeff Landry. Is there something that you would like to say directly to Governor Edwards, the Attorney General, leadership within LSP right now? What would you say to them after hearing about what happened on today?
To Governor Edwards, I invited him today to be here amongst with all the others that you see, and a couple other that had to go because this thing just ran its course. It's all into the wee hours of the night. But Governor Edwards was one of them that I invited. That he could come here, share this. And as you can see, he's not here. It speaks for itself. He didn't care to show up for the whole stretch of time that the special committee wanted to hear from him. It wasn't important. The murder of my son wasn't important to address, to give any of his attention to. I have nothing to say to him because all his actions speaks for itself. For Lamar Davis, I'm really lost for words. All I can say is, if you're as good as a cop to make a difference, replacing another bad, Kevin Reeves. You replace Kevin Reeves to do a better job. Just the fact that he's in there, I feel bad for him because they put him in there to clean up the mess of the previous supervisors. All those that were allowed to retire with blessings from Governor Edwards. It says a lot for what goes on. And as it was said, this is systemic, what goes on here. It wouldn't be allowed if you didn't have help from the higher-ups. All I can say is, this is a beautiful state. And for those that are politically in charge, we have all it takes to fix this mess. Be a person of integrity. This is time to clean this up because it's nasty, it's evil, what happens here. And black and brown citizens shouldn't have to walk around. Their children shouldn't have to be mindful of where they are at what time of the hour, night it is, that you can't be outside to play and be free. This is really shameful for the fact that it's consistent. In the middle of a DOJ investigation, you still have killings happening. It's says a lot that in spite of this DOJ investigation, state troopers run this place. There's road cops. And whoever comes up, they're not worried about it. They continue to laugh in the face of these superiors. It says a lot what you see. Somebody needs to really step up and see.
So what are you hoping will come next?
Just what I said. For these Representative Black Caucus, these people of might and power here, we have what it takes to fix it. Continue to connect, continue to network. Because changes are being made. I do see substantial changes. I'm so blessed in spite of what happened to Ronnie. My network of friends is just unbelievable. The people I've met of integrity quickly divides those that lack. And it's really obvious of what I see, don't have, and those that I see that do have. So all I can say is continue the fight, continue the networking, and just don't take no for an answer. You're in a position to fix it. It'll happen.
Any other questions?
Can any of you address the circumstances surrounding, I'm referring to Carl Cavalier now. I'm sure everyone is aware that state police has dug their heels in and wants him to accept a $200,000 payment and go on. And they're very adamant on that. Is there any way that pressure can be brought about to change state police's approach to say, look, we'll let you rescind the agreement, because the State Police Commission, which is the only avenue for him getting his job back, is saying that we're not doing anything until that's resolved. So is there any way, especially for the lawyers, is there any way that state police can be influenced to agree to rescind that offer? He doesn't want the $200,000. He wants his job back. So can anybody comment on any ability to bring that about?
So before we comment on that, I think it would be disrespectful if we didn't give Carl the opportunity to speak to that first.
Sure.
If you can.
So what's the question again?
Well, the question, Colin, appreciate you coming up to address it. As you know, you're living it. State police wants you to take $200,000 with the stipulation that that's it, end of ball game, you can never work for state police again. What I was asking is if pressure can be brought about, and the legislators are free to address that, or the attorneys, to get, because state police has the ultimate say-so. If they want to say, oh, look, we're good with it, we'll rescind it, but they're not doing that. They are saying we are going to proceed forward with court proceedings to enforce what they claim is a legitimate oral agreement. I know you are claiming that there never was a meeting of the minds on the whole thing, but and I hate to put you on the spot because I know you've got attorneys who may not want you to comment on it, and if that's the case, just say I can't say anything. But this could drag on for a long time, where if the State Police Commission is going to say, we're not giving you a hearing to get your job back, while that's still in limbo. And I know it's got to be frustrating because it drags on and drags on, but on several occasions here it's been reiterated that you ought to be reinstated. So to the extent you can comment, would you like to weigh in on that? And then if others want to chime in, because it's an actual impasse now that I'm sure has got to be unbelievably frustrating. So.
Yeah, of course. So I won't comment on the settlement conference or any settlement negotiations or anything like that. I'll let these guys speak to it and give their opinion on it if they would like. But as far as state police reinstating me or allowing me to go through the commission hearings to possibly get my job back, I think it sends a loud message that I'm here today, I'm in this position today, seeing that I haven't committed any crimes. Seeing that I haven't committed any crimes or, wasn't involved with the on-scene, the ongoing with Mr. Ronald Greene, it sends a loud message that they pressed me harder than they pressed John Clary, who remained on the job, and Corey York, who remained on the job. And those guys were charged today. That says a lot. For Corey York to have charges brought against him today and remain on the job, but here I am, unemployed. Since January of this year. But I'll let those guys speak to me if they would like to get their opinion on the settlement. At this time, I can't speak.
I understand. Thank you, Carl, for commenting to the extent you could.
Yeah. Listen. Given the fact that Mr. Cavalier is represented, I don't want to speak specifically to anything that's going on in those proceedings. I don't want anything to be prejudiced in any way. But I will say this from a practical standpoint. They punished a good cop.
Right.
They punished a good cop. And yet we see in cases all across the state, I'm not just talking specifically about Ronald Greene, where objective wrongdoings happen and nothing of consequence happens to those that do it. That needs to change. If you want better policing, you got to start there. And the reason why you got to start there, again, this is practical common sense, that you want good candidates to come in. You want people that really want to protect and serve their community to apply for these jobs. But who's going to want to apply for these jobs if you're a good officer and you speak up for something that's wrong, that they're going to be after you? We look around the state, whether it's the state police, whether it's Baton Rouge Police Department, where there are shortages in areas, and they have to go out of parish to bring officers in. This is part of the reason why. If you really have it in your heart to do it for the right reasons, and you see someone that has it in their heart to do things the right way, like Carl Cavalier, and he gets pushed to the side, then hell, I don't want that job.
Unless you're a criminal.
I don't want that job. I don't want to put my life on the line each and every day if I'm going to be punished for doing the right thing by folks that are supposed to be called my brothers and sisters of the badge.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Peters and John Clary were charged for malfeasance and obstruction related counts. Based on your discussions with DA Belton, were there any hopes that other high-ranking officials involved in alleged phone wiping and other alleged cover-up activities might be charged today?
No. So in our discussions with DA Belton, we knew that it was going to be limited to what happened that evening. And although, again, this is a moving target. This does not mean that those who were not there that participated in this cannot eventually be charged, either in state court or through the federal investigation. But we did know going into the entire grand jury process that that it would have been limited to those that were actually on the scene that day.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Again, thank you all. Listen, this has been a long day for all of us. Thank you guys for bearing it in this weather and being patient, with this family. I truly thank the coverage that this has brought, because honestly, if it wasn't for you all caring about this issue as well, we wouldn't be here either.
Thank you.
No justice!
No peace!